All right, this is day 2 of me picking an album off of this filter that I haven't heard before, working out to it, and giving it a review. I'm calling this series Muscle Music. I'm not sure if I like that yet, but let me know what you guys think. Actually, no, I haven't listened to this before. Let's do it. I know a lot of people on like the music end of TikTok really love this album, and I think I've only listened to 1 or 2 tracks and I wasn't a big fan, but let's see if working out to the whole thing changed my opinion. All right, we're back from the gym. We did push day today. So there's a lot to unpack with Loveless by My Bloody Valentine that I think needs at least one more listen for me to get my full thoughts out there. So I'll be right back after I listen to it one more time. All right, just listen to it again. Here are my full thoughts on Loveless by My Bloody Valentine. So going into this, I wasn't really sure what My Bloody Valentine was. I always thought they were just kind of like a grungy-ish, muddy rock sound, which is kind of what they have, but it was much more varied when I listened to it. A lot of elements of shoegaze music, which was great. Some kind of dream pop elements. I wouldn't really call it dream pop. It's more like dream rock, not too many pop aesthetics, but again, much more varied and wider of a sound than I anticipated. There are even some tracks that have almost a vaporwave aesthetic to them, like To Hear Knows When. So all of these different sounds and styles at play are very interesting to kind of form into one album. And you got to keep in mind, this album, along with all of the albums that we're doing in the series, are going to be a little bit older. This album came out in 1991, so this combination of shoegaze as well as like dream pop and noise rock almost didn't really exist at the time, so it really set the blueprint for a lot of other acts to follow. However, with that being said, there are still a lot of elements that I don't really like with the album. The first one that's still very jarring to me, not jarring, but just kind of tough to listen to, was the mix. It sounds very muddy. It sounds like they recorded it on the cheap, but I looked it up. They spent like £250,000 and like going to 19 different studios to do all these recordings. It just sounds totally different than what it should sound like, to me at least, you know. And again, grain of salt because I've only listened to this album a couple of times. One kind of consistent through line for me, it's that it's very inconsistent. There are some songs, like I mentioned, but the opening track I think is just very muddy in the mix, and it doesn't really ring out exactly how cleanly you'd like it to. But there's some tracks that are mixed fantastically and have so many different elements and are way more fun. And I think, you know, at that last leg of the album, like the last handful of tracks, just really slow it down for me. However, that's not to say that there aren't great tracks on here. I think the track When You Sleep is one of their best tracks, especially on this album. Really just sets the bar for a lot of different dream pop aesthetics. Very catchy. I feel like some tracks on this album are very catchy and some are definitely the opposite of that. So yeah, When You Sleep is probably my favorite. And that song, my other 2 favorite tracks were To Hear Knows When as well as Come In Alone. So while I can understand why this album has such a huge cult following, especially for when it was released, it doesn't really do that much for me. While I was working out, I think it was a great workout album, kind of the opposite of last episodes, where I think, you know, you could absolutely work out to this album, but on repeated listens, it wasn't really, you know, more of a casual listen. You really had to sit down and think about it. Other than that, I'm sorry, I can't really give it much more than like a high 5 to a low 6, you know. With more repeated listens, do I think this could get bumped up? Probably. But am I gonna really find that ambition to re-listen to this over and over again? Maybe, but probably not. Other than that, me and Zeke will see you in the next episode, unless this app gets banned. Bye!